Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana, and we're here today with special guest, Gerda Robinson, who's here to share with us her new book, From Trauma to Peace: How We Reclaim Our Lives, Healing Body and Soul. So what hidden scars does surviving Nazi Germany leave, and how does that resilience endure decades of pain? Well, today's guest is here to share with us just that. Gerda Robinson was born in Germany in 1938. She immigrated to the United States in 1961, where she studied psychology at the University of Minnesota. She has led women support groups, worked with adolescents, volunteered in hospice, and served in the Stephen Ministry. Today, she champions social and emotional learning in schools as a vital foundation for healthier, more resilient communities. So welcome to the show, Gerda Robinson.
Thank you very much. Mein Name ist Gerda Robinson und ich möchte Sie mit meinem Buch bekannt machen. Der Titel heißt Vom Trauma zum Seelenfrieden. Ich bin in Schlesien geboren und wohne seit 1961 in der USA. In den 64 Jahren hat mein Deutsch ein wenig nachgelassen. So, es war aber wichtig, meine Geschichte auf dem Papier festzuhalten. Auch ich, wie so viele andere, haben den Zweiten Weltkrieg in Wilhelmshaven erlebt. Ich glaube, keiner hier in der USA kann sich vorstellen, wie schrecklich das war. 84.000 Bomben wurden während des Krieges über Wilhelmshaven abgeworfen. Das alles hat dazu beigetragen, dass ich vom Alter von 40 Jahren starke chronische Schmerzen bekam, die mein täglicher Begleiter wurden. Ich wollte nicht mehr leben. Aus der Verzweiflung bin ich in einer chronischen Schmerzklinik gelandet. Dort lernte ich einen außergewöhnlichen Arzt kennen, Dr. Lauren Pilling von der berühmten Mayo Clinic. Er behandelte Körper und Geist zusammen. Ich konnte es nicht glauben, ohne Operation, ohne Medizin hat er mich wieder gesund gemacht. Die Therapie bestand über mein Trauma zu reden, Gymnastik zu machen, schwimmen und ihn ein neues Leben zu finden. Und später denke ich immer daran, wie gut es wäre, wenn Kinder und Eltern und Großeltern mal über den Krieg reden können. Mein Buch ist zu erhalten von der Owing Publishing Company und mein Website ist gerdarobinsonbooks.com und ich gebe viele Einzelheiten, wie ich wieder gesund geworden bin. Und das ist das Ende von der deutschen Geschichte. Und jetzt entschuldige, lese ich es vor im Englischen. Dear Sir, Madams, dear friends, my name is Gerda Robinson, and I would like to introduce you to my book. The title is From Trauma to Peace of Mind. I was born in Schlesien and have lived in the USA since 1961. Over the past 64 years, my German has deteriorated somewhat. However, it was important to me to record my story on paper. I too experienced World War II in Wilhelmshaven. Wilhelmshaven is a city that sits right on the ocean of the North Sea. And because of the shipyard, we had many bombs were dropped in our area. Matter of fact, 84,000 of them during the time of the war. All of this contributed to me developing severe chronic pain at the age of 40, which became my daily companion. I didn't want to live anymore. Out of desperation, I ended up in a chronic pain clinic. There I met an extraordinary doctor and Dr. Lorne Pilling from the renowned Mayo Clinic, who treated both body and mind. I couldn't believe it. Without surgery and without medication, he made me healthy again. Therapy consisted of talking about my trauma, doing gymnastics, swimming, and learning how to find a new life. And so that is the English version. It describes, pretty much summarizes the thing. But again, I had many years of chronic pain. And what the chronic pain was actually cured by Dr. Pilling. Matter of fact, I went back to Germany and I met my family, and took a tape recorder and recorded all what has happened, where I was, the bomb shelter, the walks to the school, and how difficult it was during those times. Um, Food was scarce. We had no books, we had no newspaper, we had no games. So in reality, we lost our childhood. And I had to reinvent my childhood, my teenage years. And now I'm happily married for 56 years. And we have two children. And the two children, after I got treatment, I learned a lot. I applied it. And I am a strong advocate for social emotional learning in our schools. I feel that is the most important thing that we can do for letting the children grow up healthier. Because of my lack of communication, because of my repressed emotion, everything was kind of going. I had to go through the therapy and work this through. And so now I'm giving that, and let's let Mary Ann continue with the interview. Thank you, Mary Ann, for letting me talk.
Of course, of course. Well, and I like how you connect your chronic pain to unexpressed emotions. Can you explain to us how that works?
Right. Chronic pain is simply when we are not being listened to. In other words, you are hungry, but there is no food. You get hurt, and there is no parent, no friend, no school. No one in there listen to what the child is experiencing. These repressed emotions come in many, many different ways, and one of the things that it is when we look at a child. I think it's a little scenario here. A little child is in the kitchen with her mother, and the mother is busy doing her kitchen stuff, and the child is about 3 or 4, and she says, "Mommy, you're not listening to me." Oh yes, honey, I am. She says, "No, mommy, put me on the counter." And so the mother takes the child, puts it on the counter, and says to her, "Mommy," she takes her little hands, puts them on the mother's cheeks, and says, "But mommy, I want you to listen with your eyes." So I think it is chronic pain comes in so many different ways. It's not being heard, it's not being understood. And I can tell you, as soon as I learned that and I apply it to children now, and how smart they are and how willing they are. So to me, that is very unexpressed emotion is causing major damage in our bodies, physically and emotionally. And so, if you want to, there's so much information that floats in my head around and in my heart. But Dr. Pilling told me, he says, you are one of the best students. I applied everything and followed his rule. And he said, I didn't do it, but he says, you did the work.
Your story begins in World War II Germany. How did those experiences shape the rest of your life?
Well, it shaped my life to the point, see, when I really had the treatment, I was already 40. I was very determined to uh, continue my education. And I realized that in Germany, I didn't have that. But in while going through the war, my family was dysfunctional. My father was in prison in Russia. Um, the stores were all bombed out. We waited for food. We stood in line for hours to get by a loaf of bread. And my sister Ilse and I, we took turns to say, so I would stay for 2 hours in line, and then um, there was no food one way or the other. We were ill. We couldn't get toothpaste. We couldn't get the hygiene material to stay healthy and brush our teeth. I took salt to put our thing. So all of that, it's when I had the opportunity, I met my cousin from New Jersey and I asked her if she would sponsor me if I came. And I wanted to get out of that life. In the meantime, I was 16, my mother died, and my father came back unexpected from the war. He was declared lost in action, and all of a sudden, when I was 10, he appeared. And when he appeared, he was very abusive and very cold eyes if you didn't do what he wanted right away. And I had so many bad experiences that I felt like I needed to get away, speak a foreign language, and start a new life. And exactly that's what I did. Um, of course, now still in contact with my family, and believe it or not, all my siblings are still, but they're all emotionally um, unavailable. I can ask them a question. I said, nobody says, it's good to see you. I'm so glad you're here. And he said, my brother says, that's understood. So what I'm saying is it's not because of Germany, but I think when it comes to comparing America and Germany with their approach to mental health, I think I've tremendously gained, and I enjoy going to Germany, and I wanted to share this what I have learned over the years, and especially I weep for all of the children of the world, including the United States and all of those that are now in war circumstances. And I think of them how if they are having the proper parenting skills around them so that it doesn't get stuck. So the repressed emotion, they can cause, like I said, physical pain, mental anguish, and it bothers me tremendously that there are 1 in 4 children in the United States is needing mental care, and there is nothing so far available. The therapists are overworked, and we have to wait for hours. And I see the world in war wherever we are, and I have become a Christian. I was leaning on God to guide me and lead me, and I thank him for keeping me alive and allowing me to speak. And I do hope, because in the book I do have helpful hints the stuff that I have done. There are quick fixes that I did when I was so angry and realized how I lost my childhood. I didn't know what to do with that frustration and that anger. So I kind of just took my tennis racket, took the balls, and went to the high school and hit that ball and smashed it against the wall until I fell on the grass and wept uncontrollably. And then I realized I lost my mother, my father. My mother, I really didn't know. And so that it bothered me to talk about my mother and father. So I went to a Dr. Cortman. He's a psychologist in Venice, Florida, where I am. And he said, I would like for you to write a letter to your parents. And I thought, that's unusual. And I did. I brought him to the next meeting. And then he says, oh, I want you to read them out loud. And so when I read them out loud, they weren't very flattering of either one of them. But he says, so what do you want to do with them? Do you want to continue to carry them in your heart and head? Or do you want to get relief? And I said, there's only one choice, get permanently relief. He said, take the letters and just burn them in the sink. And he says, you will find that then now you will get the peace. But my father's strong, serious, angry eyes, I had a hard time getting rid of those. And again, there's a different kind of therapy. I went to him and he asked me, is it a picture or is it a movie? And I said, of course it's a movie, and it's in black and white, like everything is black and white in Germany. And so he said, why don't you play that movie and let me know when you're finished? And so I went through it. I wrote that little word, how I interacted with them for a minute or two. And then he said, so now we're taking the film out of the camera, and it goes, shoot, just pulling the old movies out of the camera. And I was very questioned whether that would help or not. And he says, well, I'll see you next time and see. And you can make that therapy, you can do that anytime you want to. So, of course, when I had an opportunity, I played it again and took it out. And it's absolutely, everything becomes duller. It's not affecting you. It's not like you want to escape or you're frustrated or anything. It has a tremendous, and I recognize that the therapy and is absolutely thing. And I asked my German friends. I did travel a few times back over to Germany, and I asked them how is the therapy, and they said they're hard to find, and they're not as advanced as the Americans are. But again, it's I call myself very blessed, very fortunate that I've had the help that I needed to get over it. Because after I dealt with this issue, and I went to Germany, and I had every test under the sun. I had the myelogram, the discogram, a hard body cast, a soft body cast, and everything. And the doctor said, I'm not going to cut into you because I don't see anything. So I just, with that in mind, um, I continued whatever I had to do, including when I came back from Germany. I took my suitcase and I swung it up in the overhead compartment. And shortly thereafter, I was able to go and do play tennis and play golf. That's the sport that I learned when I came to the States. And I was so happy that I could do that. But I also did a lot of volunteer work. I did it in high school. I did it in an abortion clinic where we talked about it, what they are and what the choices are and all of that. I was a Stephen minister. I was a hospice volunteer. I always was involved because I always felt like God blessed me and I have to give back. I did go to the university and I had um, 2 years of studying, and then I had a house fire. And the house fire put me out of our home for about 4 or 5 months. And then I didn't go back to the university. But even that, I look at it, I could have become a good therapist, and I help a lot of people that when they have problems, they know I can come. The patients tell me if when I get sick, will you come and visit me? Because I go right to the bottom of it, and I ask them really, how are you? And then I listen with my eyes and with my heart. And so I think one thing that I have learned over the years, and now I'm 87. I still like to go back to Germany one more time. Got the book in German. I had it specially edited by Dr. Peter Schaefer, who is an extraordinary editor. And Andrea Luafi helped me with the translation. And she has done many translation from German into French, from German into English. So she was my translator. So because I had little education in Germany, and here I went to junior, not a junior college, and then when I went to the university. But if I had stayed there, I would have just focused on money. I wouldn't have been as involved in helping people to get over their trauma. Trauma is something that is so, and it is for each person, it is different. It can be a trauma, watching a murder, watching an accident, watching anything, seeing your mother being there. And all of those, if they don't get processed, they stay in the body. And the physicians right now, and I recognize, and I have a good relationship with my physician, and he says, because you work through your trauma, you have fewer ailments in your age. So anyway, that's about my life story.
Well, thank you for taking the time to share that. Where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community and learn more about your book?
Oh yes, well, the Ewing Publishing Company has the contract. They're working on the right now on the marketing part. You can get it on gerdarobinson.com. That's my website. But I like to hear from patients if they have a question. It depends on how busy I get, but my email is Gerda, like Gerda for Robinson. So it's Gerda R429 at gmail.com. Um, and of course, the Ewing Company, be more than happy to guide them. And my website is there. And I certainly hope that people, you know, at my age, it's not so much that I want to sell a book. It is very, very important to me that we can see the hope is there. It takes a little work, and it takes time to find a counselor. But I hope that I give some insight, definitely in the book, what made me happy, what got me out of this doom and gloom in Germany, because the weather was stark. And we lived in Minnesota for about 28 years, where the children grew up. Our son became a neurologist. Our doctor was an assistant vice president for a publishing company. So I think I must have done something correct. But my husband of 58 years or 9 years, he graduated from Harvard Business School. So I did have some of the advances to do the things that I can. So my book, when they ask me, when we help you, do you want it a formal language? Do you want it? I said, no, I want it in a basic positive language. And actually, my books can be read by 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds, and it goes up to 100. It is strictly information on how to keep your body healthy.
Well, Gerda, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
All right. Well, I thank you for the interview, and I wish you well.
Well, thank you, Gerda. It's been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about your new book, From Trauma to Peace: How We Reclaim Our Lives, Healing Body and Soul. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Mary Ann, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Mary Ann is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Mary Ann will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmaryann.com for more information.